Alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Today we're going to discuss something that many of the scholars and people of knowledge refuse to talk about with Muslims today. And that is the differences of the companions. As everyone knows, after the death of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after the death of Umar, that's when our nation began to fall apart. Remember, the best of this nation after the Prophet was Abu Bakr and Umar. When they became the leaders over the Muslims, they kept everything in check. When those two men were living, everything remained in check because Umar was inspired by Allah and Abu Bakr was blessed by Allah with the ability to recognize the truth. Okay? So after those two men died, that is when the fitnah really began. This is when the companions began to disunite and turn against each other, and that's when all that happened began to happen. It was during the Caliphate of Uthman. Now, over the next couple of weeks or several weeks, we're going to speak about these differences. But I want to warn everyone here. We are not to judge any of the companions about anything that they've done or anything that happened, because remember, Allah has already chosen to forgive them of any sin that they committed. We are not to pass judgment on them. We are not to badmouth them. We're not to hate them. Remember, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anyone who hates my companions hates me. Anyone who is an enemy to my companions is an enemy to me. And even Allah says in the Quran, anyone who is an enemy to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, companions are enemies to him. So we're not to pass judgment. Instead, what is the purpose of this series? The purpose of this series is for us to learn how to benefit from the differences that those companions endured. Because what happened with them is happening today, because human beings never change. That's why we first discussed the mistakes of Adam. It's part of the human nature to make bad choices. It's part of the human nature to make mistakes. The question is, what do you do after the bad choice? Do you recognize it was bad and turn back to Allah, or do you dwell deeper and deeper into sin? That's the question. So you're going to find out that the differences that they encountered are the same differences that we encounter today with one another. Muslims today are fighting each other. Muslims today are killing each other. We're slandering each other. We're hating each other. We're boycotting each other. We're destroying each other's reputation, destroying each other's lives. That's why I did the whole series on guarding the tongue. Because that's what will always be our downfall, our tongue. That was the downfall with the companions, and that is the downfall with us today. Okay? So again, I want to advise and warn everyone, we are not here to pass judgment. We're not here to badmouth the companions. We are here instead to learn from their differences and their mistakes, in hopes that we can stop making the same mistakes today. And we're going to begin with the campaign of vilification against Uthman. The campaign of vilification against Uthman. Okay? Just as it is today, there seems to be for every fitnah encountered by the Muslims a group of hypocrites or a group of unbelievers behind it. And it seems to always involve people who are the Jews. And that's what happened during the Caliphate of Uthman. Remember, guys, why was it the Jews? Because the Arabs and Jews lived together. They lived together in Saudi Arabia. They lived together in the Middle East. What were the two dominant people? Either you were Arabic or you were Muslim. I mean, Arabic or Jewish. Those were the two dominant people. So it seems like any type of fitna that occurred, there seemed to always be a Jewish person behind it. And it began during the Caliphate of Uthman with a man named Ibn Saba. Ibn Saba. He was the one who was responsible for beginning the religious movement against Uthman and against Islam. Okay? And what did this movement that Ibn Saba inspire do? Well, it was aimed at the subversion of Islam by creating doubts among the Muslims in regards to certain matters of their belief. The same that happens today. All of our differences emerge or around belief, our belief system, because people differ in their belief system. And Ibn Saba, being that he was a Jew himself, his movement was patronized by the Jews, and it had links with foreign countries, links to Syria, for example, links to Basra, links to other, I don't know who keeps turning my page. If you moderators, I don't know, it could be the computer too that's turning that page. But please, don't nobody touch that if you're a moderator. Okay, but it might be just the program itself. Okay, but anyway, his movement had links to other countries. And as the Muslims grew, as more and more people converted to Islam, okay, this inspired Ibn Saba to try to divert it or stop it, you know, by doing what people do today, spreading lies against the leader. And that's what happened. Ibn Saba and his agents began to launch an attack against Uthman and his government. They tried to sow discord amongst the Muslims. The non-Arabs were incited to object to the supremacy of the Arabs. Remember, guys, before Islam, who was in power? The Jews were in that part of the world. The Jews were the governing body of Saudi Arabia back then. They were the governing body in most of those other countries, Syria and all of that. Okay? But after the advent of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet Muhammad established Arabia to become the first Islamic state. And no longer were the Arabs, you know, out of control. They now became in control. They were in power. And now the Jews were subjected to them. Okay? And the Jews who lived there didn't like that. So they began to launch campaigns against the government the same way people do today. Okay? Differences were also exploited between the Quraysh and other different tribes. Differences were exploited between the Bedouins and the city dwellers. You know, so that's how the fitna basically had begun. Okay? And of course, based on lies against the government. And Uthman, remember, before Uthman became the caliph, we had Umar. Everybody feared Umar. You guys know all about Umar. Umar was one to be reckoned with. He was inspired by Allah. He didn't take any crap. People thought he was mean. They thought he was cruel because he didn't play. If someone messed up, he would put them in check. Uthman didn't second guess or play around with the people, so they feared him. It was after he died, and then Uthman, who was a little bit more passive, a little bit more, you know, nicer, you know, that's when they began to try to walk over him and play on him. And anytime Uthman did a good deed to benefit the people, the innovators, the deviators, the hypocrites, they would try to tear him down the same way people do today. So thus the propaganda of peace against peace began in the Muslim states. You know, they began to slander Uthman, accuse him of things that he wasn't doing, accuse him of not looking out for the best interests of the people. and all of that, and it was not true. And it all began with Ibn Saba. In fact, the campaign became so bad that even in Medina, the companions who lived in Medina and the other leaders there, they were flooded with anonymous letters containing vague allegations against Uthman and his government. They would send letters to Ibn Abbas, letters to Ibn Masud, letters to the other, even to Aisha and the wives of the Prophet, slandering Uthman's reputation, accusing him of doing things. But, the simple fact that the letters were anonymous should have been a sign of something. The simple fact that the letters were anonymous should have told the people something, that there was no truth. There could possibly be no truth behind these allegations. And that's how it is today. People don't like you, so they make up falsehoods against you and then find others to support them. And together they send vicious emails to people of authority, alleging things about you that cannot even be proven, just to plant the seed. The same way it happens today, that's what they did to Uthman. Okay, and once a seed is planted in a person's heart, that's why we did the series on guarding against the tongue. This is backbiting of the heart. You have bad thoughts about a person. Once you allow bad thoughts to enter your heart against a Muslim, it's hard to remove them. The seed is there. So you're going to think, oh, well, maybe it's true. Everybody can't be saying these things and it's not true. And Ibn Saba was very smart. He knew that. He knew that, and he used it. He kept the anonymous letters coming to the other companions. He not only found disgruntled people, but also he got people of affluence, people who came from good families, to cast doubt against Uthman. He played on them too. For example, Amir ibn al-As. You guys know who he was. He was another one of the eminent companions of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amir ibn al-As had been deposed by Uthman from the governorship of Egypt. He was the governor of Egypt. But because Amir ibn al-As had a personal grievance against Uthman and did something that he should not do, Uthman removed him. And of course, this made Amir ibn al-As, angry that he was removed as governor. As soon as everyone heard that Amir bin al-As was removed as governor, Ibn Saba played on that. Ibn Saba played on that. He approached Amir bin al-As and began to speak badly, that, sins of the tongue. He began to speak badly against Uthman, telling him, oh, what did Uthman do to you? Why did he remove you? You're such a good governor and all of this. So he planted the seed and played on the anger of Amir bin al-As. That's why we talked about how we have to free our hearts of those negative emotions such as anger and jealousy, because they can cause us to commit sin. Also, another companion, Muhammad bin Abu Hudayfa. He was a young man whose father had been killed in one of the battles under the Caliphate of Abu Bakr. After the death of his father, Muhammad came to live with Uthman, and Uthman treated him as a son. Muhammad grew into a wayward young man, and when Uthman became the leader over the Muslims, Muhammad wanted to be made a governor. What do young men want? Young people want power. Because Uthman raised him, he thought that Uthman would make him a person of power. So he requested Uthman, he said, make me the governor of one of the countries so I can have power. But Uthman, said that if he had considered him fit, he would have done that. He said, but you're still too young. You're not qualified to be in a position of power yet. He said, wait till you get older. Wait till you learn more things, and maybe I'll give you a position of authority. Of course, this made Muhammad ibn Abu Hudayfa very angry. So what did he do? He moved to Egypt and joined up with Amir ibn al-As, who was also upset because Uthman had removed him as a governor of Egypt. So again, and the person who orchestrated all of this was Ibn Saba. He was the one behind this. Anytime Uthman did something, he would go to that person. Oh, what did Uthman do to you? Okay, well, hey, you know what Uthman's, he would plant the seeds. Also, another person who the seed was planted in his heart was Muhammad, the son of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr's son, Muhammad. After Abu Bakr died, Muhammad's mother married Ali. And Muhammad grew up under the guardianship of Ali. When Uthman became the leader of the Muslims, remember, Ali was unhappy because Ali wanted to be the leader. But he was passed over. So this made Muhammad, the son of Abu Bakr, very angry. He wanted to know why come Ali didn't become the leader instead of Uthman. So, of course, you know, Ibn Saba knew that Muhammad, the son of Abu Bakr, was angry. So he went to him, got him to join his group, to join his campaign against Uthman as well. Okay. Muhammad went to Uthman asking, you know, why he had a case before Uthman. Ibn Saba played on that. He said, see, not only did he take the leadership from Ali, but he's ruling against you and you're the son of Abu Bakr. You know, this is how hypocrites play with us. You know, they start their campaign. They put the bad thoughts in others' hearts. They plant the seed. Hypocrites are dangerous. This is why Allah hates them more than anyone else. This is why they're going to be in the lowest levels of the hellfire. So what did Muhammad, the son of Abu Bakr, do? He went to Egypt too, joined up with Muhammad, the son of Abu Hudayfa, and he joined up with Amir ibn al-As, and they all became close buddies, and they all began the campaign, you know, against Uthman and those who supported him. And one of the biggest supporters of Uthman was Abdullah ibn Saud, who was the governor of Egypt. He was the one who Uthman had appointed to replace Amir bin al-As. So Amir bin al-As, Muhammad, the son of Abu Hudayfa, and Abu Bakr's son, along with Ibn Saba, they all began to try to tear down the governor of Egypt as well. In fact, they gained a lot of support. They even gathered together an army and tried to seduce the soldiers to support them instead of supporting Uthman as the leader. In fact, they ended up having a war. It was known as the Battle of the Mass. The Muslims were divided. People in support of Amir ibn al-As and people in support of Abdullah ibn Saud as governor of Egypt. And they began to fight. Okay. So again, you know, this is how the fitnah began. It was all planted. The seed was planted by this evil man named Ibn Saba. And by the way, guys, this is the case today. I'm trying to work these slides. This is the case of the righteous person today. What happened to Uthman and his supporters is what happens today. Even when we are faced with betrayal, it's hard to retaliate against someone you love. You know, you're accused of doing bad things like Uthman was accused of. But Uthman knew they were lies. He loved Muhammad, the son of Abu Bakr. He told him, you're the son of Abu Bakr, who was one of my closest friends, one of my heroes. Why would I rule against you unjustly? He told Amir ibn al-As, he said, Aki, we fought together. We fought the different battles with the Prophet together. I love you. For the sake of Allah, we're family. Why would you think that I am removing you unjustly? So even though these people were launching their attacks against him, Uthman didn't want to accept the reality that they were turning against him. He had raised Muhammad ibn Hudayfa as his own son. He raised him as if he were his own son. How could he bring harm him? Okay. So what Uthman did, while these people were allowing Shaitan and his ally Ibn Saba to nurture evil in their heart, Uthman chose to just ignore them. He chose to ignore their propaganda, even though he heard the different reports from other people telling him that these people are trying to take you out. They're trying to take you down, Uthman. He chose to just ignore them, which is often what the people of truth do even today. We hear rumors of betrayal from those who we trusted, those whom we were close to. And rather than address the rumors, we choose to just ignore it, hoping that the rumors will die out, hoping that the people we love will just stop and end up coming back to us. But oftentimes it's not until it's too late that we realize that if we had addressed those people, then maybe we could have stopped them from making it worse. And that's the mistake that Uthman made. When the other companions came to him telling him that Amir ibn al-As and all these others and his son, the man he raised, and these others were launching attacks against him, he should have addressed it. But he didn't, because he trusted them. And that's the mistake that he made. And that's the mistake that often many of us make. Well, as Umar ignored what he was being told, in Egypt, Amir ibn al-As had a great following of people who supported him. Egypt became the bed of sedition against the administration of Uthman. As Uthman ignored the situation grew more and more out of hand. And again, that's how it works even today. One unhappy group joins with another, and then you have sedition. It all started off with maybe two men at the mosque, two brothers or two women upset with something at the mosque. And now it then turned into a whole 10 people. And now they done went from mosque to mosque, and you got 100 people. You got 200 people. You got social media. You got fake people on Facebook saying horrible things about you who you don't even know. Well, that's what happened with Uthman. The movement of Ibn Saba won allies in Medina and everywhere else. His supporters declared that they were working to remove Uthman as the caliph. And instead, they wanted to replace him, they said, with Ali. And by saying that, what did that do? That won for them the sympathies of the supporters of Ali. Remember, a lot of people were upset because, remember, the Shiite movement had begun. After the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had died, many people thought that Ali should be the caliph over Abu Bakr. Those people were still upset that Ali never became the caliph. Ibn Saba knew that there were a lot of people who wanted Ali to be the caliph. So he went to Medina and gained and gathered their support. Okay? And what did Ali do? When Ali heard that the people were uniting against Uthman and trying to use him as their replacement, what did he do? Unfortunately, Ali did nothing. He did nothing. Most of the companions in Medina chose to be neutral and stay out of the argument, stay out of the fitnah. But there were many who got involved, such as Abu Dar. You guys remember Abu Dar? Abu Dar was one of the eminent companions who got into an argument with Bilal before. And the Prophet told Abu Dar, you still have some Jahiliyyah in you. Don't badmouth your brother. Well, remember Abu Dar, who was one of the most eminent companions, he got involved. He was against luxury. Again, Ibn Saba tried to demean Uthman. Uthman was the richest companion. Remember that? He was a multimillionaire. That's why the Prophet had married his daughters to him. Uthman lived a very lavish lifestyle. He was the one that supported every it had. He was the one that brought in the camels and the weapons because he was rich. He was a multimillionaire. And when he became the Caliphate over the Muslims, he was the one that began to build mansions and beautiful homes in Medina. He was the one who expanded the masjid that we have, the Prophet's Mosque in Mecca and the Prophet's Mosque in Medina, making it more luxurious. Well, there are some people who don't like money, who don't believe in luxury. Abu Dar was one. Ibn Saba played on that. And he went to Abu Dar and said, look at Uthman. All he cared about is the life of this world. He's all about money. There's no need to expand the mosque. There's no need to have 3-level homes. And Abu Dar listened to him. And Abu Dar became critical against luxurious style of living. Okay? And then Ibn Saba and his supporters went so far as to lie and accuse Uthman of harassing Abu Dar because Abu Dar did not believe in having a luxurious lifestyle. So again, this is how it is, guys. This is how the fitnah began. This is what Uthman had to deal with: the lies, deceit, betrayal from people he trusted, people he raised, people who he'd been with all his life. But again, instead of stopping the rumors, remember Allah tells us in the Quran, try to stop it. That's why we did the whole series on guarding the tongue. What do? When a person comes to you with bad information about someone, you try to stop it. Uthman didn't stop it. And many of the companions, some of them stayed away, but many of them listened. Ali didn't do anything. So the rumors of sedition continued to grow, not only throughout Egypt, not only throughout Medina, but all the other Muslim states. For example, in Kufa, the people they demanded for Sa'id ibn al-As to be removed as the governor there because he was a supporter of Uthman. And instead, they wanted Abu Musa Ash'ari to be appointed. Because, again, Sa'id ibn al-As was a supporter of Uthman. In fact, in a letter addressed to the people of Kufa, Uthman hoped that as he had acceded to their demand, that there would be no more trouble from their side. Okay? He tried to, appease the people of Kufa. Uthman did do that. He tried to appease them by removing Sa'id. Sa'id ibn al-As was a good man, but to try to stop the fitnah, Uthman removed Sa'id, and he did replace Sa'id with Abu Musa Ash'ari. Abu Musa Ash'ari was another good companion. He was a just man. So Uthman said, okay, I'll replace him. He thought that would make the people stop in Kufa, but it didn't. They continued. They continued in their allegations against him. Okay? And even Abu Musa Ash'ari, once he had become the new governor in Kufa, he told the people to support Uthman too. The people told him that they would, but in reality, they didn't. Okay? So thus, guys, all of this began with the cruel designs of one Jewish man. This one person, Ibn Saba, created all these problems. Okay? One man, due to his hatred of Islam, his hatred of Arabs, his hatred of the truth, he was able to plant seeds in the hearts of some very good people who were close to Uthman and turn them against him to the point where they all wanted to remove him. And how did they do it? Through lies, through rumors, through allegations that were not based on facts. That's why Allah tells us to confirm it. You may end up hurting someone unknowingly. Don't sit there listening to the allegations people make against others. And instead of sitting there spreading the rumors, in Islam, we should look back to see how the rumors began. We're supposed to look to see who is the one bringing the rumor. If people had to look to see it was Ibn Saba, who was a Jew, they wouldn't have listened. But they didn't. And instead, they end up beginning a campaign against a great man, Uthman. And so we're going to stop right here for today. Tomorrow, we're going to go into more detail, speaking about what they did, the horrible things that they began to do to Uthman. So again, I want you guys, the whole purpose of this series is for you to benefit, to learn from their mistakes. And the thing that I want you guys to learn is what we talked about before. If someone comes to you with bad things to say about another Muslim, I don't care if it's a Muslim you know or you don't know or you like or don't like, you stop it. Stop it. Otherwise, you will end up harming someone. You will end up becoming part of something really, really bad. Okay. And be careful posting stuff on Facebook. You want to go around and post an email that somebody sent you about a righteous person on Facebook? You don't know if this stuff is true or not. You're beginning a campaign of sedition against someone that could be righteous, the same way they did Uthman. And this is happening today. So many good daya, such as myself, tore down, slandered, victimized by people of sedition, hypocrites. Okay? So we'll stop right here for today. Tomorrow I'm going to give you a quiz on this and we'll continue. If you guys have any questions or comments, inshallah.